Okay, so I've had a request for some more videos, and since these are fairly straightforward to make, I think I'll make some more. I'm happy to accommodate anyway. So I've got other bots running in addition to the ape bot that was sort of the focus of the last couple of videos I did. The APOD is doing very well, and it's really kind of interesting because it's trading with relatively high leverage. It's trading with 20 times leverage, and so it will produce a fair bit of profits from the grid trading that it does. Another way that that is sometimes referred to is sometimes called grid arbitrage. And that's just the trading back and forth as the price moves up and down on a grid and buying and selling in small increments um, in order to make a little profit off of that volatility. Um, so got that one going, but most when it comes to these grid trading bots, the ones that trade with higher leverage can potentially generate quite a bit of profit relative to the amount of margin that's in them, which can help to lower their liquidation value, making them more secure in the long term relative to a 20 times or a 50 times or something um, sort of swing or sort of scalping kind of trade. Um, so it's great that that one worked out, but often when you start bots like that with higher leverage, you kind of have to treat it as if you're going into a scalp trade, and um, you really have to pay quite a lot of attention to it, particularly at the first few hours or the first day or two. Um, Most of the bots that I'm running currently now, though, are lower leverage bots. I do this type of grid trading in addition to running a rebalancing portfolio on another exchange. And really, that's where I expect I will do the best in terms of my actual return on investment over the long term is really in my spot trading. But I'm experimenting with leveraged positions, and in particular, I think that these leveraged grid bots are really quite an interesting prospect and are good to use, particularly if you're trying to swing trade or do some sort of investment in cryptocurrency, but you're not a professional day trader. It takes a tremendous amount of time, energy, and attention to really successfully day and swing trade and do these things, and it can be um, such a large time and energy investment that for many people like me who have full time jobs, it's just not possible for me to really sit at my computer and watch the market all day long. So alternatives are things like grid trading. Um, so uh, Most of the bots that I have, and I have a few going, are using lower leverage, and so they're not accumulating quite as much profit from the grid trading relative to the amount of money that I've put into the bot. Um, but they also have a much lower liquidation level from the beginning, and so they're sort of they don't require nearly as much attention when they get created. They're far safer from liquidation. Now, that doesn't mean that they are necessarily safe from liquidation. As I said, um, I'm concerned about some of these, although I don't think. I think it'll probably be okay. If I was really seriously concerned, I'd probably close them, honestly. Um, so here's a Solana bot that I have running. Currently, its grid goes from $210 to $300. I Solana recently has set a new all-time high at around 260, or at least I think that's the all-time high, or certainly the recent high. Um, and as the market has corrected downwards, this bot has opened some longs after I started it, but then unfortunately has fallen below its grid and has gone into loss. So it's now it's not doing its grid arbitrage trading. It is just a long position that is currently in loss, and so is at risk of liquidation. So I'm watching it fairly closely. I don't necessarily think that I have a whole lot of reason to be overly concerned about this one, though. The whole crypto market in general kind of pumped along with Bitcoin following the election that we had here in the States in November. And so it's really not that surprising, in my opinion, that we've seen a correction back downwards. This would have created a lot of liquidity that needed to be satisfied, this big pump here. And so I sort of generally, I think it's reasonable to say that we had a big pump in Solana, and then it is corrected back down, satisfying a lot of this liquidity created here, and it seems to be finding support right around this $180 level, where you can see it was finding some resistance before, and it also hit resistance here back in July. So we've kind of reached a level of, I think, reasonably good support here. It's not a bad time to open a long on Solana if you're into that sort of thing. Although that is up to you. Do your own do your own research. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Certainly, I'm not interested in doing that. But okay. So. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, basically, I think I've explained everything really to explain about this one. I plan on holding this bot for a little while. I think that it's not unreasonable to think that Solana might hit $300 sometime in the next year. If it goes over $300, then that's great. This will just turn into a long position for me. But in the meantime, I'm hoping that it will rally along with these other bots. Sometime in the coming weeks, we we saw a big pump following the election, in part probably because the political party, at least in the states, the United States, that did well in the election is very pro cryptocurrency and very supportive of the stock market and just sort of the market in general. And so hopefully, as we moved into the new year, we'll see more deregulation announcements and more attention being given to the market, which will hopefully cause us to kind of move back up into this range with Solana and other coins. At least that's what I'm looking for. Let's see. The other one that I think I was going to talk about was ADA. I've also got a bot running on Cardano, which, as you can see, had a great time in November, and has now corrected down a bit. And just like with Bitcoin, we had an interesting day recently with this. Let's see if I can kind of. Yeah. We had a pretty significant downwards wick here. Let's see if this is on the 20th. And so while this bot very nearly hit liquidation on that day, it thankfully did not. And this is, after all, a green candle. Like it did wick down that far, but it also came back up that far. So we had a good showing of support, I think, at that level for Cardano, which I'm hoping will mean that it won't go at least too far below that. Although you never really know. This might push back down and test that support level again, and it might Potentially go down far enough to liquidate the bot. I certainly hope not, but we'll kind of have to see. Especially because the bot is trading below its grid currently, and it's not gonna unless the price action gets back up here to $1 per Cardano coin. Um, it's not going to be able to generate margin to extend its liquidation level any lower. So this is one that I am a bit concerned about. That might hit liquidation, but we'll just have to kind of see. I've not put a massively huge amount of my money into these, so it's not the end of the world if it does hit liquidation. But that is a chunk of change. I would it will be sad for me if this does hit liquidation. Not the end of the world, but yeah. Anyway, so I have this grid, and this is I've set a pretty big grid for this one. Honestly, Cardano would have to do 5x. It would have to go increase 500% in order to actually get outside of its arbitrage grid for this one. But it's possible it might do it. I mean, you never really know. But with this one, I think that I just extended the grid up pretty far. These uh, these leveraged grid trading bots use a type of grid that's called an arithmetic grid. You also see, particularly in spot grid trading, the option to use a geometric grid. But I think that with leverage trading in particular, arithmetic makes a lot more sense, and so the way this works with arithmetic grids, when at the initiation of the trading, the grid lines are all very close together. They're very tight. And then as you get further away, as you get to the further edges of the grid, in this case, as you get up closer to $5 per Cardano, the grid lines start getting spaced out more and more as you get further up. And so the way this works is that the bot will trade more often in this lower region, um, but make less profit each time it trades. And then as it gets up into the higher region, there are fewer grid lines, and there's kind of a larger percent profit in between each one. So the bot will trade less often, but take a larger take profit percentage each time. Um, And this is useful for, in particular, leverage trading bots because when you first start these guys, you want them to make as much margin as possible, as quickly as possible, because you're trying to get them to produce some return on investment to be used to extend this liquidation level lower so that you can avoid liquidation. If you can get these guys to run long enough to that their liquidation level extends pretty far down, then you can hold these for quite some time and hold through really extreme dips in ways that you would not be able to with an isolated leverage position normally. And so this is potentially a very useful tool for leverage trading for that reason. Now you can of course do this in spot as well, and you don't have to worry about the liquidation price at all when you do that. And so in spot, sometimes people will use geometric grids, and geometric grids are ones in which the grid lines are spaced out evenly throughout the grid, and so you have a very consistent return each time the bot executes an arbitrage trade. But for the purposes of leverage trading, we kind of want the bot to trade quite a bit and try to eke out as much margin as it can when it first opens because we're concerned about liquidation early in the bot's lifespan. So we tend to use the arithmetic style of grid. So right, okay, so we got Sol and Cardano. Right, yeah, okay, so these were the two that I think I wanted to talk about this time. Cardano, I've got a really wide-ranging grid. This one I could hold for quite some time, and it could still actively trade. But this is all assuming that that it doesn't hit liquidation here in the coming weeks, which I hope it won't. But we will kind of have to see. I do think that there's reason to hope that it won't hit liquidation. We had a big old pump up here in November going into December. And on our 10 exponential moving average Heikin-Ashi indicator, we have gotten to a point where the Heikin-Ashi red candles have gotten fairly thick. Usually, in my experience with Heikin-Ashi, with this indicator and just with Heikin-Ashi in general, when the candles are at their fattest, that tends to sort of be places where you're reaching the extreme of that swing, and so the fattest green candles tend to be kind of at the peaks, or at the height of the upwards buying pressure, and then the fatter ones, when you're going down, tend to be correlated with the troughs of the downward selling pressure. So, hoping, or assuming that Cardano does pretty well, it may be getting out of its correction. We are seeing an area of support here where we had this big downward wick, and so hopefully that's an indication that we're going to resume this upward trend soon. That's certainly what I'm hoping. So we've got the ADA one, and did we talk about Sol? Let's see. So we got this one. Also, the other indicator that I commonly like to use here is this squeeze momentum indicator made by Lazy Bear. And it also has sort of its transitioned to its red side of the oscillator, and the bright red bars have gone to dark red, which is a bullish indicator. The crosses or plus signs or X's or whatever you want to call them in the middle have lit up white right here and then gone back to being black. The plus signs on this indicator light up when the price action has gotten kind of extreme. And so these are it's sort of like you take the signals essentially from this oscillator much more seriously when these white plus symbols appear. When they are black, as they are in this region, the oscillator is still relevant, but they tend to it tends to be a period where you might not necessarily want to enter a trade. So, like for example, here the oscillator is going down and it's crossing from green to red, which is a signal to short. But there aren't any green pluses, and so we would kind of take that with a grain of salt as a result. Now, if you did start a short right here, it would have done just fine. But that's just kind of sort of more traditionally how this indicator is read. Of course, just like any other indicator, just like any technical analysis metric, this is all kind of with a grain of salt, and what happens in the news, what happens outside of the market can influence how these things go. But I do think that based off of what my indicators are showing me here, I have reason to hope that Cardano may recover and this bot may do just fine. Let's see. The other one that we were talking about is Solana. Solana is kind of in a similar situation. It looks like the Heikin-Ashi bearish candles have gotten pretty thick, and had a pretty strong downward wick right here, which also recovered on that day, indicating that there may be a level of support there for Solana. And on the oscillator, it looks like we're getting a bunch of bullish signals going from bright red to dark red. And we are seeing some white plus symbols in the middle, indicating, at least according to this indicator, the indicators be indicating that this could be a good time to enter a long on Solana, which to me suggests that it would not be necessarily a great idea to try and close this bot in order to cut my losses, because it may be about to swing back up into the 200s, in which case the bot should start trading again. So yeah, so with this one and with the ADA Cardano bot, I'm kind of concerned about them because they've gone down into loss and they are off their grids. So they're not trading. But these are 5 times leveraged bots, so they have a fairly wide area that they can go into loss and not hit liquidation. So they should tolerate this correction reasonably well. But I will be looking to see them hopefully swinging back up and showing more bullish movements so that they can start arbitrage trading and hopefully making me some more return on investment than I would be getting from a similar grid trading in spot, where I'd be trading with 1/5 the amount of money. So yes, so here are a couple of more examples of things that I'm doing when it comes to grid trading this coming, hopefully continuing bull market in cryptocurrency. All right, so I am Daniel. I'm going to sign off. Hope that you are all doing well. God be with you. Please be safe. Take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. And I'll talk to you later.